Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Piano Man Steve Lungrin, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano course, and I appreciate you dropping by for this song demonstration for It Must Have Been Love by Roxette, also covered by many other artists, but we're going to focus kind of on the version done by Roxette because it's the first and the biggest hit, the most well known, and I think it was their original song anyway, so it's kind of the gold standard. This is not a note for note tutorial. Instead, what we're going to be doing in my which I do in all of my song demonstration videos is show you how to take guitar chords and use rhythm patterns and very simple chord-based improv techniques to turn those chords into a good, credible version of the song and do it quickly, because this is a skill that you can take to any song, and it's not quite so, you don't have to become perfect you don't have to develop a perfect ear, you don't have to be able to read notes on a staff, and it just has a much faster learning curve as a method than most other ways that you can approach the piano, which is why I teach it and why I have used it most of my life, and why it's made such a big impact on my life. So, quickly, before we get into the actual demonstration, I would just shamelessly ask that if you enjoy content like this, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, let me know what you think of this video and what you might want me to cover in the future, and share this with anyone who you think might enjoy it. Every Friday we put a video like this out. Sometimes it's a song demo, sometimes it's just a topic of sorts that is of use to people, maybe a technique or something. So, but I try to put out at least one free, usable teaching video, hopefully with valuable content that you can take to your piano playing and apply tomorrow in a way that will make you better and have more fun doing it. I call it Free Lesson Fridays. So I always appreciate your suggestions as to what to do next. So now that we've got that out of the way, and of course down in the area in the video description below, I have my links, so you can see ways to help support my channel, and also head over to pianomanapproach.com and you can get some free goodies over there, and join my mailing list if you like, so that you get notifications when I put out new material. So, It Must Have Been Love by Roxette. What we're going to be doing is working this through my sort of magic 5-step song learning formula, which I call the glide formula. All right? And it's an acronym. Each letter stands for something, and I'm going to bring that up on the screen right now so you can see what the glide formula is, and we'll just kind of work through what these steps are really quick. All right. So step 1 is G, get the chords. And usually with the chords, you might be able to find them for free by just doing a Google search. But you might need an app, or you might need to buy something through like Hal Leonard or something. Sheet music will usually have guitar chords. We're going to ignore what's on the staff. We're not going to be looking at notes on the staff. What we're going to be looking at is the chord symbols above the staff. So get the chords. Step 2 is listen to the song. L, listen to the song. That, luckily, we are in an abundant situation. You can usually find it on YouTube, certainly on Spotify and Amazon Music and Apple Music and all kinds of good places. So you shouldn't have any trouble finding the song and having to listen to it. Step 3 is I, identify the feel. And that is where we pick the basic rhythm pattern, or the essential rhythm pattern that's at the core of the song. And I have 4 of those that I teach in my course that are sort of like the rudimentary ones, and then there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can modify them and make them more sophisticated. So it's not like you only have 4 things to choose from, but when we drill it down to their most sort of fundamental basis, there are 4 of them that we kind of, that usually are at the root of about 90% or more of popular music. So we identify the feel, And then step 4 is D, drill it down, which means that we take that very simple version of the song where we don't do anything special with the chords and we don't try to do anything special to the rhythm pattern. We just kind of run through it several times until it's under our fingers, because that way you can give your brain power to modifications and improv rather than, how do I get from this chord to this chord to this chord? You just kind of want to get that part of it under your hands. And then finally, step 5 is E, enhance with simple improv and signatures, which means use easy improvisation techniques based on the chords you're already playing and add in more specific and precise signature lines identified with the tune if you know them from possibly written notation or video tutorials, or possibly if you've been able to pick it out by ear. And we'll talk more about that as we get in there. So let me bring the teaching screen back up here. Now that you know the process, we're going to assume that you've already made it through steps 1 and step 2. You already have the chords. You've already had a listen to the song, okay? So we're going to start here on step 3, and we need to pick out our essential feel. So if you had listened to the song, you probably heard something like this. You heard that. So what we do is we kind of run through the chords on our different rhythm patterns, our different sort of fundamental rhythm patterns, and see which one does the best job encapsulating the song. One will usually stick out as like the clear winner of the pack. Now, in this particular case, we can rule one of them out before we even hear it. Because one of these rhythm patterns is called the waltz pattern, and it's designed for songs with 3 beats per measure. And if we just listen to this and count, you can hear 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's got 4 beats per measure. It's not going to be a waltz. By the way, the waltz pattern looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we know it's not going to be that. So we've got to identify which of the 3 remaining feels it's going to be. So what you do is you just kind of run the chords through them and see what sounds right. So the basic feel, the first is what I call the basic feel, and that's where you're just playing quarter notes in your left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay? And your right hand is going to eventually be kind of fluid and can do all kinds of different things. But when we're testing this, we have sort of like default things to do with the right hand just to help identify the feel. And so what we do is we come down on counts 2 and 4 with the right hand on a chord, and it's in the key of C. Okay. By the way, I have the chords and the lyrics for this song down in the video description. If you scroll down to the bottom of the video description, I put the lyrics there and I put the chords there kind of, in the spots where they change to the best of my ability so that you could study them from right here on the video rather than looking, to hell and gone for them somewhere else, okay? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Lay a whisper on my pillow. Da 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 da. Da da da. Well, that's a little choppy, right? That's probably not what we're looking for. But, at least it's the right time signature. So then we move over and we go to what I call the country feel. Let's see if that works. And don't be fooled by the name. Not all country songs use the country feel, and not all songs that use the country feel are country songs. So There are occasions when a rock song works best with this, but there is a high correlation between country songs and the country feel, so that's why we call it that. The country feel is where you're playing the root of the chord, so on a C chord, that'd be a C, and you're alternating between the 1 and the 5 of the chord. So what does that mean? If you start on C and you work your way up that major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so G is the 5. 1, 5, 1, 5. And then in between those, you come down on the chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we tried the song out. Lay a whisper on my pillow. Da 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 da. Do do do. You know, it works, but definitely doesn't sound like Roxette, right? But if we ever wanted to rearrange it and have a hoedown, we could do that. Or turn it into a polka. We could just make it really fast. Lay a whisper on a pillow. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Must have been love, but it's over now. Anyway, but we aren't here to do that. Although that is fun. Now, we move on to the third option, which I call the syncopated feel. Okay? Because it includes syncopation, meaning we're going to hit some offbeats, some backbeats with our left hand. And we also kind of call it colloquially over at the Piano Man Approach, the heartbeat feel, because it sounds like a heartbeat. It's like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Bump, 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 bump. Okay? And for our right hand, what we're going to do is just play quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try it out. Lay a whisper on my pillow. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. It must have been love, but it's over now. Okay. Now, can you feel how suddenly, even though it's not perfect yet, it really, really slid into that one, right? It's like everything just kind of went, You can almost feel like there was a little choir and like lights came down. You could hear them like, oh. Well, that's terrible. I've lost my falsetto voice, but, right? Yeah. Sorry. My voice is in bad shape tonight, folks. Anyway. So that's where we're going to start, we're going to start with the syncopated feel, the heartbeat feel. We have now identified our feel. We can move on to the next step, which is drill it down. So what we want to do is we want to just play the song kind of from beginning to end, and I won't play it all the way beginning to end necessarily and just spend 4 minutes on it like that, but I'm going to show you what I mean by drilling it down here. You kind of want to get it under your fingers without doing anything special. So I would recommend that you, unless you're super familiar with chords and inversions and stuff, if you don't know what that means, don't worry, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Unless you're really, really, really familiar with chords, I would not try to do anything but what we call root inversion, where your thumb is on the root of the chord. So in this case, C, E, G is the C chord, right? I'm going to play it here. We're just going to move around to root inversion of the different chords that are in this song, and we're just going to play that rhythm pattern in that very simple way and just kind of get the chord progression under our hands. So it starts on C, goes to F. I'll play it a little slower than the song's tempo so you can really keep up here. C, love, but it's F over lay a whisper on my pillow. Do F G do 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 F. Now it goes to D minor, D F A, okay, and a bedroom. To a G major. Touch me now. Now it goes to A minor. A, C, E, like, touch me now. I close my C. Then F. G. It must have been love C. But it's over now, F. Been good, D minor, A minor, somehow to G. So good, but I lost it somehow. It must have been love, but it's over. Now we're gonna pretend like we finished the second time through, okay? Over now goes to G minor. It's where back to C, the wind blows. It's where the wind, B flat major, B flat, D, F, wind blows. Then it goes to a D minor, C, B flat, change, goes to C, and then F, but it's over now, B flat, da 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 da, G minor, D minor, C. It must have been love, but it's over. Okay, B flat, G minor, D minor, C. It just kind of fades out on that, so you can kind of end it however you want. So you kind of get that sequence of chords under your hands without trying to do anything fancy. And once you feel comfortable with that, and for some of you, let's be clear, what I enjoy about this method is some of you who are watching are going to have very, very little experience. So you don't have much muscle memory. You're not used to playing much of anything. So just getting that down is about as far as you're going to be able to go. And you know what? That's a pretty darn good facsimile of the song without doing anything fancy. If all you can do is sit down and go. Sounds pretty awesome. Honestly, like that's way farther, way faster than you're going to get if you're trying to read music. And that, I don't have any problem with reading music. I'm not one of these people who's going to trash that as a skill. It's a beautiful skill to have. But I will say that the learning curve on becoming really good at reading notes on a staff is much longer than the learning curve of getting good at playing a rhythm pattern. Once you get the hand coordination down, and we talk about that in greater detail in other videos that I've put out on Fridays and also in my courses, once you get the hand coordination down, the rhythm patterns are there for you, and you can apply them to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. Like this rhythm pattern is going to work probably with thousands of songs. Okay? So it's very, very versatile. Whereas you're kind of reinventing the wheel every time you have to read another arrangement that's written on the page. And you're kind of a slave to, is the arrangement, like, is it made for somebody at a lower skill set than me, so it's too boring? Or is it written for somebody who's got way more experience than me and it's not really approachable for me? This, you can kind of, you get in at this base level, and then there's 1,000 ways to make it more sophisticated so you can bring it up to your level as you gain more experience, more momentum. So that's why I love this as a method, and I think that my only gripe with teaching people how to read music first instead of teaching them this first is that the learning curve on getting good at reading music is so long that it weeds most people out from playing at all. They just give up. They think they have no talent, and they never get any traction, or they don't get it fast enough to maintain their interest. So a lot of people walk away and they don't make music a part of their life because they think, I can't do that, right? And when the real truth is, no, probably not. You probably could make music. It's just that you were working with something that was really kind of catering to the top 1 or 2% of music students, and which is great. But if that's the only thing we're going to teach, then anybody who's not committed to the point where you want to get that committed to it, right, then they're probably going to abandon ship. So anyway, I think I probably said more than I needed to make that point. But let's move on to enhancements, because now that we've got enough reps under our fingers that we feel comfortable playing that simple version and we don't get lost or confused moving through the chord sequence, we can look at some kind of simple and effective ways to enhance it. There's 2 main ways that you can enhance a song, okay? You can do rhythmic enhancements and you can do harmonic enhancements. Rhythmic enhancements are where you literally change the rhythm of what you're playing to create more excitement, and I've got a couple of my favorites that I like to do, whereas harmonic is where you might change the chord in some way, maybe make it a more complex chord, or you change the voicing of the chord. So those are the kinds of things you can do, and you can do both at the same time. So here's a couple of my favorite rhythmic maneuvers that I really, really like to use. They're called toggle and arpeggio. Toggle's my word, arpeggio's not. It's an old kind of ancient music theory term. I believe it is an Italian word. But toggles are where you play the top part of the chord with the top part of your hand. So on the C chord, I'd play here with my upper fingers, but leave the thumb out and then toggle to the thumb. That leaves me a lot of different rhythmic options that I can do with this. And so let me show you how you might. This works to both modify the rhythm pattern itself. It also works to create, like fills and licks for spaces in between the melody. Okay? So we might be like so. So instead of the constant quarter note drone that we were doing with the right hand, we might, come down a couple, leave a little space, and then use a toggle as something to sort of maybe make it a little smoother, but add a little bit of extra rhythmic activity. Must have been love, but it's over now. They whisper on my pillow. I just used it to make a little fill. Just a little something to throw in there because there was a little bit of space in between the melody and when the next melodic phrase came along, and so I just used it to add something rhythmically interesting to the song. That's a toggle. A lot of things you can do with toggling. Another thing you can use is arpeggios. Arpeggios is basically when you're playing the individual notes of a chord, but you're not playing them together in a block. So instead of this, most people associate arpeggios as being in sequence, going up or coming down. And certainly that's probably the truest nature of an arpeggio, but for my purposes, it's just you're playing the individual notes, and I don't really care what sequence you're playing them in. You're just not playing them as a big block. So it could be, or it could be middle, thumb, this, or middle, up, thumb. I don't care. It's just a matter of that. And so what it does is it changes what's going on rhythmically without changing what's going on with the notes that you're playing. Lay a whisper on my pillow. And then when you feel comfortable using both techniques, you can kind of pick and choose your spots, do a little toggling, do a little bit of arpeggiating, just do some regular chord comping, whatever. And you can make those choices even spontaneously. Like, you don't have to plan it out. You can, but you don't have to plan it out. What we're trying to do is assemble a toolbox. You want to be able to reach into the toolbox and use the tool that feels right in the moment, and you want these tools to be interchangeable from song to song to song to song, so that your toolbox goes with you even though the song changes. The chord sequence changes, the feel might change, whatever, but your toolbox is with you and you can make the experience fresh. So by learning, a handful of techniques, you're good to go with thousands of different songs, right? So you might, for variety's sake, it might be like, must have been love, but it's over now. Lay a whisper on my pillow. Do this without singing for a minute, just so that you can see how I'm kind of mixing it up. A little toggle here, a little comping here, a little arpeggio here. So lots of options just off those two simple techniques. And what I love most about them, sorry, just keeping having a little frog in my throat there. What I love most about them is that you literally don't have to move your hand all over the keyboard and do all this wild stuff. They're very effective and they sound nice. They sound great, but your hand is already on that chord, right? Your hand's already on these notes, C, E, G. And so you're making a fill, or you're making an enhancement to the rhythm pattern from the chord you're already on. It's incredibly powerful because it's very efficient, and it also, you can do really nice sounding stuff, and you can get there a lot faster. You can gain the capacity to do this much, much faster than you can. And I'm not saying it's not nice to be able to, work your way around and do really cool licks and fills and stuff. But those are just licks and fills that you might do that are like this. toggles and arpeggios that you like stack on top of each other. I'll give you an example. This is going to be toggles and arpeggios stacked on top of each other, and just, you know, I might do them here and then here and then here, 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 and here, right? So it's like, so by mastering them simply here on the chord that you're already playing, you're literally priming yourself to be able to, you know, stack little enhancements like that on top of each other and just do them in different places on the keyboard, and voila, you got yourself more sophisticated fills. So what I love about this is that this particular method allows you to get better and better and better, and you can raise the level of sophistication of your play to match what you're ready for. So the more you master it simple, the more you're ready to move on to another level. And there's always something that's just one level above you that you can reach for that will excite you because it's new, but it won't feel so far beyond your reach that you get frustrated and walk away. And that's really important. So the next thing we want to look at is harmonic enhancements. Now, my favorite harmonic enhancements are to change the voicing of the chords, which the best way to do that is through what we call inversions. And what inversions are is, so here we are, C, E, G, that's our main chord, that's our what we call root inversion, because the root of the chord is on the bottom of it, C, E, G, right? Well, those three notes, if you play them in a different configuration, still make up a C chord. So if you were to go E, G, C, so that's called first inversion. And you could certainly do G, C, E, like so, and that's second inversion. Still a C chord, still gets the job done, but it does sound a little bit harmonically different. Adds variety, right? So there's a couple of things that you can do with it. One is that it adds variety because you can play different inversions of the chord in different places. And two, it's an even more efficient way to play because you can, once you get really comfortable with where these inversions are, you know, at first it might be easier for you to just jump from root inversion to root inversion to root inversion. But when you get comfortable with where the inversions are, suddenly now you can choose, you know, whatever chord you're moving to, you can choose the inversion that's like the least amount of work from where you are. So if I'm here on a C chord, they whisper on my pillow, and I go to an F chord, instead of going here or jump up like this, I can either go like this, I don't have to move my hand very much at all, right? Because this is second inversion F, or I could do this, which is first inversion F. Either way, I'm not moving my hand nearly as far as I have to go from root inversion C to root inversion F, right? So they whisper on my pillow. Same thing with the G chord, right? So that's a beautiful way to do a harmonic enhancement. Now, another thing you can do is you can add notes to a chord. And when you do that, you can make it a more complex chord. So, for example, maybe you'll decide that you want to add the 2 or the 6 or maybe a dominant 7 or something. That's up to you because you're in the driver's seat here. When I say the 2, sometimes also called the added 9, so that's 1, 2, right? When they call it the added 9, what they mean is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when you see like C9, what it generally is implying is that you're playing the 9 and the 7 both. But when you see added 9, it just means that you slip in the 9 without anything else. And it's a lovely sound. Listen to that chord. As opposed to just plain major, just happy and clean, but when you add the added 9, can you hear how that just adds a little bit of thickness and sort of like softness to it, right? And I will even replace the 3 with that added 9 quite often. So listen to that. Isn't that a nice sound? Still toggles, or you can still toggle. Right? Arpeggios still work. And you can do the added 9 with or without the 3 in there. So the arpeggio could be, or it can just be the 3 notes. So that's something that you can do. It works really nicely in ballads, but there are other money notes that you can use, but I think in this particular song, the added 9 is probably your best one. And so now we've got some harmonic enhancements and we've got some rhythmic enhancements that we can choose from. So let's see what happens. So it moves from sounding like this to mix it up a little bit. The other thing that I would keep in mind is there are certain things that you can do to make the sound a little bit what I call bigger or smaller. Not just louder, but bigger. Because, I mean, you can always hit the keys harder. But what I'm talking about is, if you notice, the verses of this song are a little more laid back, right? It's got a more laid back sound. And then when they go to the chorus where they say, it must have been love, but it's over now. Okay, that part. The sound gets bigger. It's like they bring in more instruments. It's like maybe there's more octaves or whatever. So let's talk about some things you can do. When you want it to be more laid back, then you want to play more sustained, longer notes with your right hand and just allow the rhythm pattern with your left hand to kind of dominate. Lay a whisper on my pillow. And you might do what I'd call like a broken arpeggio, like that. Lay a whisper on my pillow. So notice there's empty space. I fill it with just a nice arpeggio up on that added 9. But I'm doing a lot of, I play it, and then there's a little bit of in the middle there. Close my eye, then I close my eyes. Da-da-da. where we start picking up the bigness a little bit. So maybe we get a little more active with the right hand. So, on and on, touch me now, and I close my eyes. So what am I doing? 1, 2, da, da. Not quite 1, 2, 3, 4, but so still a little more space than just standard comping, but picking up the pace a little bit. It must have been love. Now, we want a little more pace in the right hand. The other thing that you want to do is create a little bit of space between the hands. Okay, the more space there is between your hands, the bigger the sound, because it's covering a greater range of pitch frequencies. Right? So this sounds, if we're here, this sounds nice, but when you drop to that C, right? Now you got a bigger sound. Must have been love, but it's over now. It must have been good, but I lost it somehow. It must have been love. Another great thing that you can do when you want to make it a little bit bigger is, if you're comfortable, you can make the chords that you're playing with your right hand octave chords. So whatever your pinky's on, drop your thumb all the way down to that same note an octave below and play the stuff before. So the chords are thicker. Must have been love, but it's over now. It must have been good, but I lost it somehow. It must have been good. And you know, you don't have to on every single chord, but if you can get one in every once in a while, makes the sound bigger. And then, but it's over now. The moment we touched, till the time had run out. Now we're back to the verse, and you want to bring it back to a more low-key situation again, right? So then we get a little more sparse with the right hand, and we have a little bit less space between them. So the octave that you're playing your left hand jumps back to here. Da 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 da. So the only other thing that I want to go over in this song demo is, then there's this little instrumental break. And what's interesting about it is, I'm not going to teach it to you note for note, because frankly I haven't learned it note for note. But what I did notice about it when I took a quick listen to the tune before we did this demo video, is that it's basically just chord-based, what I call noodling, and it's a lot of basically arpeggiating and toggling. So it's like D minor, and it's a D minor chord with an added 9. D, F, A is that's your 1, 3, 5. That E, and that is your added 9. So it's like D minor. And they're doing sort of a, but if you don't know that, you don't need to know how to do that to play something good. You can just kind of do a nice set of arpeggiating and toggles on the chords, and you'd really kind of come up with a nice section while you're waiting to learn the more specific signature if you really wanted to learn it. But my thing is people want to know how to play that stuff exactly, and then they hold themselves hostage and they don't enjoy playing the song at all because they're trying to figure out this one specific part. And I'm like, well, learn some of these tools so that you can enjoy the song immediately, and then you can always get better and you can always get more specific on stuff like that. But it's just... come out of that, it goes into this key change, and now you're playing it in F. It's F to B flat and D minor and C instead of the key of C where we were before. But you know, these little enhancements make for great licks and fills, and all of the stuff that she's doing on that little piano break that she's got, it's all the same kind of stuff. It's like enhancing the chord with a grace note, or with a money note. I like to call them money notes, like an added 9, and it's just some like toggling based and arpeggio based little riffs that she's done, and they're very tasteful and very fun. But you can make up your own kind of on the spot and just kind of have fun with it and just kind of noodle around, and then you're ready to dive into that last chorus. So I am going to leave it there for right now, just because we've been going for a while. But what I'm hopeful that this is doing for you is presenting a concept of how you can approach the piano that is different from, reading notes on a page, which again is a great skill, and I'm not discouraging anybody from learning how to do that. I'm just saying that it's a little bit constraining in a number of ways. First, the main problem with it is that if you haven't gotten really good at it, then you're really limited, and it's got a much slower learning curve at getting good, at getting advanced. That's the first thing. But then you're also kind of constrained by whatever somebody else's interpretation of the song is, right? So if somebody's got a bad arrangement, you're kind of stuck with it, right? You're stuck with whatever somebody else took the time to write down. You don't have any agency to change it. So with these tools, it's like, boy, you learn how to do this, and you can use it in this song, and this song, and this song, and this song, and this song. And so these tools kind of follow you around and make all kinds of music possible. And so it's fun to take a song like this and and use it as the example of how to use these tools. But you're certainly not limited to just this tune with any of the tools that I showed you. So I hope that this is usable and applicable, and at the very least, extremely thought-provoking. And if you want to learn more about it, of course, tune in every Friday. We put out new teaching content like this every single week. And you can learn more about it, get some more information about the method in general by heading over to pianomanaapproach.com. So for now, I'm going to leave it alone, but please do remember my personal mantra as you go out and you're piano practicing. If you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. And I will see you on the next Free Lesson Friday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Piano Man Steve signing out for now. Bye-bye.